just started off with the poll while we're waiting for some people to come in. Right, we have 5 out of 16 people voted. So I'll just do a brief introduction. So my name is Yurika Vu. I'm the Assistive Technology Coordinator at California School for the Blind, and Vanessa Herndon, who is the Low Vision Coordinator, will be helping me moderate the chat. So we are going to tackle Zoom platform with JAWS today. Thought that it would be quite appropriate. And I've, of course, been getting a lot of requests from TVIs in the field. The slides are not in present view. Man, I was having a problem with this earlier today. Let me try again. Thank you, May. Now, do you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so we have 10 out of 50% of you guys have voted. I'm gonna give you about 30 more seconds. Vanessa, do you wanna say hi?
Hi, everyone. Yurika introduced me, but my name is Vanessa Herndon. I'm the Low Vision Clinic Coordinator, and I will be helping moderate the chat and helping to answer any questions that I can.
All right. Okay, so I am going to end the polling here and going to share the results. So the first question is, how independent is your student in accessing Zoom? We have 36% says independent. Oh, why are you guys here? No, just kidding. 36% said with assistance, and then we have 27% saying not at all. Oh, I can share the results so you guys can see it. All right, how does your student currently log on to Zoom? So majority says link via email. And then second place is calendar, which is more of a little bit more advanced skill. And then third question is, what has been the greatest challenge in distance learning with the Zoom platform? 45% says getting my student to log in independently. If you have another challenge, please type it in the chat, and we can talk about that after the presentation during the roundtable discussion. And then number 4, I would feel so much more confident supporting my student in distance learning if I had more trainings on JAWS. Okay, 64%. And then Zoom with JAWS, more hands-on practice. Great, that's why you're here. And only one person said if Yurika would walk me through it just once or twice. Are you guys sure about that one? Pretty sure most people ask me for one-to-one assistance. That's kind of surprising. Okay, all right, so today we are going to tackle a lot of that, what we just talked about. And I do have other poll questions that are going to come up intermittently. So without further ado, all right, we did this. All right, so Zoom basics. So I just made this screenshot for you to see the different little icons that are on the Zoom. So obviously you have your student on the left or right, and then your teacher. That should be you, or sometimes you might have multiple people, multiple students on the Zoom screen. But in the bottom here, there's mute, video, security, participants, chat, screen share, record, closed caption, breakout rooms if you have Zoom, I forgot what it's called, but if you have like some kind of paid version of Zoom, and then reactions, and then more. So I will go through each one of these like and how to navigate it in a little bit later, but obviously you guys have been using Zoom for the last couple months, so you're pretty familiar with the platform. And if you guys have any questions, please type it in the chat, and then then Vanessa will moderate the chat, and we will address them. Okay, so a lot of you guys said that you would like some more training on JAWS, and that's really good feedback for us. So, you know, one of our jobs at CSB is to do trainings, and before COVID, we used to go do in-person trainings, but we can also do virtual trainings. So we could potentially next month or next month put together a JAWS training. But what I put here is just some of the most basic JAWS commands that you might want to jot down. So how does your student independently start JAWS? There's many ways for them to start JAWS. It could be on their desktop. It could run automatically on the logon screen. But the way that we generally teach how to start JAWS, or any program for that matter, is you press and release the Windows key. You type in JAWS, or the first couple letters of the program that you want to open or start, and then you press enter. Now, so even if they don't have a screen reader on, you guys can try it right now by your while you're on this Zoom meeting. If you press Windows key and then type in like WORD or any other program that you might want to start, and then you'll see it pop up and press enter. So we do teach our students this method of starting programs on the computer. And I'm going to jump down to the bottom to close the program that you just opened. If you hold down the Alt key and press F4, that is the same thing as taking your mouse and clicking the X button in the top right-hand corner. So those two are usually the first two keyboard commands that I teach students when I'm starting them on a computer. To switch tasks. So switching tasks means that you have multiple programs open, and to switch between them, you can hold down the Alt key and continue to press Tab. And as you press Tab, JAWS would read, or if you don't have JAWS running, you'll see a highlight across the different programs that you have open. Do you see this on my screen here? Do you see the Alt Tab?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just holding down Alt here, and I'm pressing Tab, and you can see that it selects and goes through each one of these things. So one of the greatest, I guess, challenges or troubleshooting things that I've seen working with students in TVIs one-to-one is their focus will be on the browser or somewhere or on the Word document, and then they need to access the Zoom controls, and they'll do like, for example, Alt A will mute or unmute, but if I do that right here, my Zoom window is not in focus. So what you would have to do is you have to Alt Tab until you hear meeting controls. And then when I let go of that, then I can start navigating around the Zoom window. So the way I describe it if you were to try to describe it in a physical form, is I'll use something like, oh, okay, you have this paper or this document, and you also have this document. And what you need to do when you're switching tasks is you're switching to see which one you are focusing on, right? So you can do something similar with folders or pieces of paper, and so it's the same concept. You have to make sure that the item that you want to interact with is the one that is in focus, and you can do that by pressing Alt Tab. For low vision user or how we sighted users use the computers, we take the mouse and go down to the bottom of the taskbar and we click the program that we want to bring into focus, or we will minimize it, right? So this is another this is a Windows-based command, so I would highly recommend you to start using it. A lot of times people ask me, how do you memorize all these commands? Like, and my secret is I use them regularly. So this is not a JAWS command. Actually, all of these ones that I have here are not necessarily a JAWS command. So once you start using Windows-based keyboard commands pretty easily, then when you're teaching your student, you don't have to memorize this whole long list of commands in order to tell them what to do. And then of course moving around items, you can press Tab, activate the item, press Enter. and as we talked about already, to close the program Alt F4. I did put a link here, which we can share this PowerPoint. I guess we can share it in the chat, or Vanessa, can you share it in the chat so you guys have these links?
Share in the chat.
So we put together this JAWS basic internet commands, and so it'll be things like how to navigate using JAWS, H for heading, E for edit box, and so to have this handy is pretty useful. Any questions on JAWS? I mean, there's probably a million questions on JAWS, but any questions pertaining to this slide and JAWS? No questions? Okay.
Hey, it's Adrian. Do you feel like a new JAWS user with this basic of level of access is ready for Zoom?
I'm going to say no, because in order to access the Zoom link, either via email and or meeting ID, would require just a little bit more instruction. But I will be getting to that soon about how to log on for kind of a beginner user. So I did create some how-to sheets that are really step-by-step, and I will share those.
Super sweet.
Oh, right to it. Okay, so the first way to log on to Zoom, which most people said that this is how their student is accessing the Zoom link, is via email, right? So you as the teacher would send the Zoom link to the student. And prerequisite skills is basic internet navigation. If you printed out that sheet from the previous slide with the basic JAWS commands, they don't have to know all of them, but those would be helpful. So, and then they have to be able to sign into Gmail. They also, and then read an email message. And so what I shared in this link here is instructions. Even if your student doesn't have any of those prerequisite skills, I wrote step-by-step instructions on how to open an email message, granted that they're already logged into Zoom and they're logged into their Google account already. And I did write this with using the Chrome browser. And the reason why I did that is I know previously we used to use Firefox ESR, but something happened. I'm not sure. Firefox said that you no longer need the ESR version, but when I tried to do it, it didn't work the same way. But when I did it with Chrome, it was working. It was working fine. And so I've had the most success with Chrome, and I'm also using JAWS 2020. They do have 2021 out for public beta right now. So. But the sheet is written using Chrome and JAWS 2020. So it's very straightforward. So once they already log into their Gmail, they would, you would just go through these steps and like how to open up the email message, how to navigate to the link, and then pressing enter on the link and then opening up the Zoom meeting.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
So if something shows up in the group chat, it will disappear later, right? Unless so I have to copy it now and send it to myself, or will you be able to send this? Do you understand my question?
Yeah. And so I think, is the chats logged, or Adrian, would Winnie be able to save?
You can save the chat. So you can click on those three little dots where you're above where you're typing, and you can say save chat at any point. We will take appropriate things like the link to this spreadsheet and the link to this presentation and the link to these documents, and put them in the description of the YouTube video that should be up next week.
Okay.
But you should be able to copy and paste it right now and log it somewhere. And you're always welcome to email us and ask us for.
Okay, because I clicked save chat, so that means everything will be saved for me.
Just
right?
at that point. Yep, just from the beginning to now.
Sorry about that question.
We need these are discussions. These are not They're not just us talking to you guys. They got to be open discussion. So please ask when you guys need help.
Yeah, Amanda or Winnie, can you launch the second poll question? Oh, hang on. Oh, when you guys, Amanda or Winnie, are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you guys already, oh, okay. Never mind. Originally I put the, that's okay, never mind. Sorry, I'm gonna cancel that poll since you guys already answered it right off the bat. All right, now we are, so not a lot of people talked about logging. Can you see my screen? Is it presenting? Not a lot of people are logging in via browser by meeting ID, but I know this is one way to log in, so I just wanted to go over that. So if your student has a meeting code, so this is basically, they would have to open up the browser, go to the address bar, type zoom.us, and then sign in. So there's two steps. If your student has not logged into Zoom yet, you would do this first section. The second section is if your student is already logged into Zoom and has a save, it's like remember me, then they would just have to go to here, zoom.us/join, and then type in the meeting ID, and then press enter to launch.
Can you repeat that, Yurika? The difference between join
yeah.
and not? Thank you.
Yeah, so for example, if, so you can see my screen here, right? So if I went to zoom.us, let's see if it has, so it has me logged in already. And I know that I'm logged in because this is my account right here. But let me show you what it looks like if I sign out. So if your student is not signed in, they will just come to this screen, right, zoom.us. And then they would navigate to the sign in button. And this step will teach you how to log in. So you go to the address bar, you go to Zoom, and then you navigate to the sign in button by pressing the links list, and then S until you get to sign in. So once you get to the sign in button, then they would type in their email address and their password and then sign in. So here where it says stay signed in, you want to make sure you check that box so that the next time they come to zoom.us, they will already be logged in. The difference is if you're going to be logging in from with the meeting code, you would do zoom.us/join, and this will take you directly to the edit field, which you type in the meeting ID.
You have a comment in the thing about somebody who's saying they have to do that so that the links aren't shared to potential hackers. If you had a student, this is a question, if you had a student that didn't know all this JAWS navigation and going to the address bar, could you not, in theory, save this page to your desktop, and then they find it on the desktop and open it up, and then they just type the meeting ID, press enter, type the password, press enter?
Yes, they can. So well, two things. So I think right now Zoom has extra security measures so that, hackers can't just jump into your Zoom meeting. But if you want to save this as your desktop item or something on your desktop so that you can easily access it, right now I'm in Firefox, but same thing in Chrome, if you press Alt, you see this file menu that comes up at the top over here. If you go to File and you go to Save Page As, so you can name it whatever, join a Zoom meeting, and then it's saved to my desktop here. Okay, so if I do that, what that does is it puts an icon onto my desktop right here. Join a Zoom meeting, right? So then your student can, wait, do you see my desktop?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. My messy desktop. Right.
Good to
So,
me.
so then you could next time, then your student could, oh, maybe it doesn't work.
I thought there's,
Oh, it worked.
that was weird.
That was weird. But it does go to that, So, you know, any website that you go to that you use often, if your student has difficulty opening up Chrome and then going to the address bar, which is Alt-D, I know, so the way that I memorize that is if you want to go to the address bar, how do you spell address? A-D. So I'm like Alt-D, that's how I teach my kids. So if I press Alt-D, it'll get you to the address bar here, right? And then they type in the address. Somebody was asking about how to save. Did I answer your question in the chat about how to?
In Chrome, you can go to the menu bar and you can do more tools and you can do create shortcut. And it does it automatically to the desktop.
Okay.
I'll put that in the chat.
Right, so Cindy, did I answer your question about the difference between logging into Zoom? And then if you already had the saved user.
Yeah, and because what I did today, because I'm so frustrated with that, you know, getting these texts all day long, is that I created, I'm calling them keychains. And so they're little cards in Braille and also in print that have the meeting ID and the passcode, and sent it out to my students today. And all of their Zoom meetings are all on this little keychain. And I thought it was zoom.us.join, but you know, obviously if there's an easier way where they can save the information, that's great. I didn't know that you could, because I thought that was a security issue, but great.
Yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of students have multiple Zoom meetings that they need to attend, but if that Zoom meeting link is going to be the same throughout, what I would probably recommend you to do is just create a Word document and then put all of the Zoom meetings for their schedule for the day and then save it to the desktop. And then they would just open the Word document, navigate to that class, and then press Control Enter on that link, and then it'll open up that Zoom meeting.
And you know, with something like that, the links could be live.
Oh, you got muted.
Sorry. But if you did a document like that, then your links could be live, right? Where they could just click on the link, correct? Instead of going through typing all that in. So that's an easier way, I think, as long as they can get to the document. So you'd have to create it, and then I don't know, what do you do? Email it to them and then have them save it to the desktop? Will it work that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can create them a Word document with all of the links, and then when they save it, when they download it, it'll go into the downloads folder. So from there, they would just have to copy it, find it, copy it, and then go to the desktop and paste. That'd probably be the easiest way.
Okay, thank you.
These are good questions because I'm sure that a lot of people have similar. All right, and then a lot of people also said that they do via calendar, which is a little bit more advanced, I would say, because they would have to be able to navigate to the specific day and then open that up and then see all of their events for the day, then navigate to the correct one and then open it. So that could be a little bit more challenging, but would be probably the most efficient and what you would want your student to move to, depending on their ability and age and tech skills, right? Just like, for example, if you look at my calendar here, a lot of these items are links. So for example, I have calendar and Zoom integrated. So when I create a meeting, I can automatically create it as a Zoom meeting. And if you're interested in learning how to do that, next week, Stephanie and I are going to be talking about how to create that for on the teacher end, how to integrate your Zoom to your Google Calendar so that when you go to create an item, it's, I'll show you. If you go to create an item, I can add a video conferencing item. So I can create a Zoom meeting right there on the spot. So we will go over this tomorrow, but if your student is advanced, you know, eventually you're going to get them to do something like this, where they keep track of all of their items on the calendar. And I did put a link for Google JAWS commands. That's the root folder. Then I think there's a calendar document there. And then, so back to this cute image that I created. So navigating the Zoom window is actually not that hard. So the easiest way for you to do it is to learn it yourself is to press tab. So if you're pressing tab, it's going to start up here at this top left-hand corner, which is security, then information. And then as you press tab, it'll say mute, and then more button or something, more actions, or I forgot what it says. And then it'll just, as you're pressing tab, it'll just navigate from one item to the other. Now, if there is a like start and stop video or mute or unmute, if you already know that's the one you want to go to, if you hover your mouse over the icon, it'll actually give you the keyboard command for it. So for this one I used, for example, start video. So when I hovered my mouse over it, it'll say Alt-V. So then what you can do is you can instruct your students, say like, hey, can you turn on your video? And they're, I don't know how to do that. Well, make sure you're on the Zoom meeting control first, and then press Alt-V. Right? So, and then I think I have one more example. Oh. And for your easy access pleasure, I created a Zoom keyboard commands document. So this is kind of divided based on the task. So setting up the Zoom meeting, you don't have to worry so much, but commands to use during the Zoom meeting, right? So I put them kind of in order of what I thought was most pertinent or most used commonly. So spacebar can be used to mute, it's kind of like a walkie-talkie. When you're holding it down, then you can talk if you're muted. Or if you want to mute or unmute yourself permanently, until you turn it off, like a toggle is Alt-A. And then here's the list of all of the complete Windows commands. So this is something else that you might want to print out and have on hand. Okay, so that's that. And then lastly, if your student is using JAWS and or screen reader and you need them to share their screen, they also need to share with audio. So here's a screenshot of the different screen items you can share. So the first option is the student is sharing their entire screen. So for example, right now I have my entire computer screen shared so that you can see my desktop, you can see my icons, you can see all the various windows. But if I wanted to specifically only share like one thing, then I can click on select that item. Usually for students, I have them share the entire screen, which is the one that is selected by default. And then from there, they would just press tab until they get to this bottom where it says share computer sound. And they have to press the space bar to make sure that that's checked, and then tab over to share. And that way you get the JAWS audio coming through the computer. Otherwise, JAWS is gonna be talking, but you won't be able to hear it on your end. So this feature has actually been really helpful with troubleshooting a lot of the kids' devices, or, I mean, Zoom also has a remote access option. It's not really great, but sometimes it does the trick if it's, you know, something pretty easy. But that is, this way I can hear where the student is and I can visually track where the student is on their device so that I can help support. And that is all. Wow, that was 30 minutes. I didn't mean to talk for 30 minutes. Okay. Okay, let's see. Dory, you have a question. You asked, what is the Zoom meeting control? So for example, right now, we're in the Zoom meeting, right? So that's, but if I had another document open, I will, let me share my screen again. So if I have something else open, like my email, I would have to switch tasks to go back to the Zoom meeting control. So I'm doing this by pressing Alt-Tab. So I'm holding down Alt and pressing Tab. And then what that does is it makes the Zoom window in focus. So this Zoom meeting control, can you, when I do this, do you see how it's switching and it says Zoom meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
What
you
did
have
you say? You said you have to have the Zoom meeting control on in order to turn on was it the audio? What was it you said?
So not necessarily, so like, for example, if you're working with your student and you have them working in a Word document, right? And so this is what they're seeing. They're working on their math assignment. And then you say, hey, I can't hear you because you're muted, right? And then you tell them, well, you can press Alt-A. And they try pressing Alt-A and that doesn't work. It's because right now their focus is on the Word document. So what they would have to do is they would have to Alt-Tab till they get to the Zoom meeting control. Then that makes the Zoom meeting in focus. And then from here, they can use the keyboard, the Zoom specific keyboard commands to mute or share screen or video.
So just to clarify, when you're pressing Alt-Tab, you are moving through any open windows that you have open on your computer. So when you move the JAWS focus to that window, like Yurika just moved her JAWS focus to document 2, you can let go, Yurika. Now any JAWS commands that she does will typically be specific to this window, right? Like if she pressed Alt-F, we would get to the file menu for Microsoft Word. So in order to use the keyboard commands specific to Zoom, we have to move our JAWS focus back to Zoom. So Yurika will press Alt-Tab to get back to Zoom. And that window is called meeting controls.
Yeah. So for example, if I'm in the Word document and I press Alt-A, right here it says, do you see the top? It says Office Access Key Alt-A something something. It's because in Microsoft Word, Alt-A does something different than the Zoom. If I was in Zoom and I pressed Alt-A, then you saw that it muted my audio. So it just depends on what's in focus.
You still see your Word document.
You can still see it because I'm sharing the screen.
Okay.
Susan, you have your hand raised.
Yes, so when you use Alt-Tab and you find the Zoom meeting, then you want to go back to that open document. You just continue Alt-Tab because you'll go around to.
Yeah, you got muted, but yes.
Oh, I let my hand up. I was talking with my hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you hold down Alt, and then while Alt is held down, as you press Tab, that's going to move to window. The minute you let go of Alt, then whatever it was focused on is going to be the focus of your screen and the focus of your JAWS cursor.
Okay, thank you.
Just going through the chat here. Okay, Jennifer. I think this is, I'm not sure, you said this is where my students just lose it. This is what I'm here, how to learn. I don't know where I was in the presentation.
That was when you were talking about entering the meeting ID in the browser.
Yeah. Do you feel comfortable doing that, or do you want me to demo it with JAWS?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want me to demo it with JAWS? Sure. Right, so let me share my screen. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm also sharing computer sound. Remember how, all right, so pop question, how do I start JAWS? Not Adrian or Vanessa.
The,
Windows key J,
yeah.
enter.
Windows key, J, enter. Awesome, who said that?
Rebecca, she starts on Monday of HR to fill out the paperwork.
Oh, Rebecca, you've come to so many of our trainings that I should have excluded you too. Okay, and JAWS is starting up. It's just really slow because I have a lot of things running right now.
JAWS Student Edition.
Okay, so do you hear my JAWS?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So if I want to join, or Julian, since this is your pain point, can you pull up that, where's that sheet?
Meeting controls to move to an item. Doc inbox. Join Zoom with JAWS.
Vanessa, can you put in that, the link for how to join by meeting ID? And then Julian, I'll have you instruct me like I'm your student.
Windows D. Context menu. Chat.
Okay, Jennifer, you already printed it. Awesome. All right, so I'm your student, and you're going to teach me how to join the meeting via a link. So all you have to do is you just have to read through the instructions there. Can you tell me step by step?
You would go to the Windows key and type in Chrome and press enter. And then get to the address bar, you press.
R-O-M-E-E. Google enter. New tab dash Google Chrome address and
Okay.
So you would do Alt plus D.
Alt D. Google search P.
Okay.
And you would type in zoom.us.
Z-O-O-M. Z-U-S.
Enter.
Slash join, right? Because you want them to
Well, on
join.
here it just says dash Zoom.
So this is if they're not logged. The first part is if they're not logged in.
Maybe that's the solution for your student though, because that's extra steps if you're not logged in, right? So maybe
Yeah.
the solution is to help your student get logged in the first time. So she'll have to go through step 1 the first time, and then when it pops up and says, do you want Firefox to remember this password? You're gonna have to hit yes.
I don't understand.
Well, I think what you're walking through those top steps, and Yurika saying, wait a minute, I'm already logged into Zoom. I don't have to do that. But your student probably is not already logged into Zoom.
And
Is
where
that
is
true?
she reading this? Sorry. Where are these instructions again?
They're linked in the chat.
Jennifer, when you're a student, have you done this with a student yet?
Menu.
No.
Okay.
They usually click the link in the classroom. It was usually posted to their Google Classroom, but the teachers have been removing the links and asking them to go to the website and put in their meeting ID and password to get in now. And I don't know how to do.
Okay, so are they already logged into the Zoom account? Like, do they have the Remember Me, or is it they've never logged into Zoom before?
I don't think they have personal Zoom accounts. I can double check, but I thought that was a problem the district that my students are in was having, was that kids were making private Zoom accounts because the district didn't provide one.
Yeah, you know what? I'm curious if I can log into,
New tab control.
let me try a
Leaving menus.
incognito window. So,
Z-O-O-M-E-S/J-O-N /join. Enter. Join the meeting dash Zoom.
so maybe you don't even need an account to log into a meeting.
And you did the zoom.us/join.
Yeah.
And
So the
Jennifer, your
slash-
kids have that meeting ID.
Yes.
I think that I think that makes sense. And then you would go through and type the meeting ID. You know the difference here, Yurika. Let's walk through it because I think you're going to have to name yourself here.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be able to, since I'm already on a Zoom meeting,
That
I
makes
wouldn't be
sense.
able to launch the meeting. But here, so you're on step, I don't know, like 6 or something. Where
Yeah.
so you already went. So let's assume that your student is already logged in to Zoom, or they have their own Zoom account.
Okay.
And then you got to the address bar, you typed in zoom.us/join. Now I type in the meeting ID.
Okay.
Right?
Does
So
it automatically take you to the meeting ID? It doesn't take you to the top of the page?
it does take you automatically to the meeting ID. So
Okay.
you see how my blinking cursor is there? So I can
3,
start
4.
typing.
Okay.
But however, if your student somehow navigated outside of that
4
and we're no longer able to, you're not in the edit box, it's called an edit box, you can press E for an edit box and you'll hear,
meeting ID or personal link name edit 434.
and then I'd have to press space bar to turn on the forms mode and you'll hear a pop sound.
Space meet.
And now I can type again. Right, so if they accidentally navigated away from it, then that is a way to navigate back to it. E for edit box, space bar to enable the forms mode. And forms mode just basically tells the computer that you're going to be typing versus navigating.
Okay.
Right, so then here I would just type in the I'm just making up some code, and then I would press enter.
734748.
And then it asks me,
Alert. Now alert.
do I want to open the Zoom meeting? And then I would tab.
So if there's
Menu.
a password after this, what do they, does it take you automatically to the password box?
It will take you to the password box.
Okay.
And then again, if it doesn't, if you're not in the edit field, you press E for edit box, space bar for forms mode, type in the password, press enter, and then you get this pop-up. Are you guys seeing this pop-up where it says open Zoom meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is it that you do to tell JAWS that you're typing and you're not navigating?
Space bar.
Yeah.
So
So you have to be on the edit box in order to do that, to press spacebar. Spacebar just means
Escape.
enter sometimes. So like if I wanted to type the letter H and I was in an edit box, it would type the letter H. But if I was not in the edit box, then H would take me to the next heading.
Right.
So
Thank you.
yeah.
Yurika, what if I want to listen to my students' JAWS and you told us earlier that they would have to hit enable computer audio, but what if they don't do that and they're sharing their screen with me already? What steps do they need to do to start sharing their audio?
yeah, so then they would have to stop share and then reshare. So I think the share is Alt S, right? Alt Shift S, and then they would have to reshare and then tab to share computer sound and then share again.
Makes sense. And everybody, you gotta teach this is a perfect opportunity to teach your kids to have better organizational skills, because if they have a million windows open or tabs open, it's really challenging to choose which one to share.
Or they can share their entire computer, which is usually what I recommend for the student, because if you're working outside, you're probably going to be you might also work outside the browser.
For sure. Has anyone had any problems with students using a screen reader and sharing and then internet connectivity? That you're on Zoom and you're sharing and then it just kind of cruds out on you? I should see all the CSB people saying, no, we have wonderful devices that we spend a ton of money for. I hope that's not happening at CSB, but in the field, if you have a Chromebook or a cheap Windows, you might notice if you have a low quality device that it can't handle Zoom and JAWS. Nobody has
I haven't done any sharing yet with my students, so I want to, but they're not on, none of them are on HPs or using JAWS. So, you know, Macs, iPads, so far.
Yeah.
So on Mac, you can also, it would be the same. You would still be able to share screen and then share computer sound, and you'll get the voiceover. The windows should look similar.
Oh, Cindy said yes, she is having a problem with it. She meant to chime in and do it. And then Susan's got a specific question for you on closing tabs.
Yeah. So I'll share my screen again. And so for tabs, so we'll do a quick JAWS lesson. So right now I'm sharing, this is Chrome, I think. So if I have a lot of tabs open, google.co. Oh, Rob's there. Okay, so I have 4 different tabs open in this example. This is, I wish this was my real life. In real life, I have about 20 tabs open. So how to close tabs. So before I go how to close tabs, let me show you how to shift between the tabs, right? So in order to shift between the tabs, and do you guys know what I mean by tabs here? So this is 1 tab, 2, 3, 4, right? So let's say here I'm on Yahoo, and then on this one, I'm on Facebook. All right, so if I want to switch to the different tabs, I would press Control Tab. So right now I'm on Facebook and I want to switch over to Yahoo. So I'm pressing Control plus T. And that'll switch between tabs, right? And then let's say I'm working and then all of a sudden my teacher comes in and like I have my screen shared and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta close my Facebook tab. I don't want them to see that I'm on Facebook. So I'm gonna switch tabs until I get to Facebook, which is Alt Tab, right? I'm switching between the tabs. Sorry, Control Tab to switch between the browser tabs. And I'm gonna press Control F4. So it's similar to Alt F4 will close the entire program, will close the entire browser. But Control F4 will just close that tab. Right? Did that answer your question, Susan? Control Tab, Control F4.
Okay, wait, what's the difference between Alt Tab and Control Tab?
Okay, so Control Tab in a browser, Control Tab switches between the little pages that you're on here. Mm-hmm. So it's like taking the mouse and clicking these things, right? So that's what Control Tab does. If I press Alt Tab, that's switching between the various programs or windows that I have open.
Oh, I thought they were the same thing, tab. Programs and tabs.
No, they're different. Yeah, so switch between programs is Alt Tab. Do you see on my screen it's switching?
We don't see it right now, Yurika.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Probably I'm just sharing. Okay, so this is, so right there, this is an example of me sharing just the browser window, and then I'm gonna share my whole entire computer screen. Now do you see it?
Yes, now we see it. So that is Alt Tab. You're moving through open programs or open windows.
Yes.
Well, I still don't know the difference between a tab.
So that's Windows, right? And then you see how when she let go, she got to this window, which is her browser. She has Chrome open right now.
Oh, Chrome. Chrome is not a tab, it's a program.
Exactly. Yeah, but in Chrome, you can, you see above, she has about 20 tabs. You see Gmail, Calendar, Gmail, Calendar, Drive. You see all those tiny little icons running across the top? Those are pages, or also known as tabs, that she has open within this Chrome window.
I get it, I think.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
So while Alt Tab moves between, right, we went from Chrome to, we want to go to like, okay, so we went from Chrome to Firefox. Can you go from like a web browser to like a Word document? I think that contrast is a little different. Okay, so we were in Chrome. We did Alt Tab to move between open programs or open windows. We went to Firefox, and then we went to Word. We did that all by holding down Alt and pressing Tab. When you're in a browser, I think that's the only time that you have tabs or multiple pages that you can have open, which you see again running across the top. And that is when you can press Control Tab. See how we're not changing windows? The focus is just going across the top. You see the white focus going across the top, and it changes the content displayed on the Chrome page. That is her moving through the tabs within this program.
That's Alt-Tab.
So this one would be Control Tab, because we're moving in between the pages. I like to think of it, the way I explain it to kids is you have your backpack, right? Your backpack is your computer, and inside your backpack, you have your math textbook and your notebook and your pencil case, right? Let's call those programs. Those are different programs. So I could press Alt-Tab and take out my pencil case, and Alt-Tab and take out, and I would put back my pencil case and take out my notebook, or Alt-Tab and put back my notebook and take out my math textbook, right? So that's Alt-Tab. I'm moving between programs. But now that I have my math textbook, I want to move in between all of the pages or all of the chapters I have, and then I would Control-Tab to move within that program.
Okay.
Hey, Yurika and Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is Chris Fendrick.
Hey.
Hey guys. Hey, great presentation. I'm wondering, I know you're presenting to probably 99% sighted TVIs,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm wondering if you could share your sound with JAWS so they can hear the Alt tab and the Control tab. That really helps. I'm not asking for me, but I wonder if they would hear that. They would kind of understand to hear Microsoft Word or Internet Explorer or Edge or Chrome, or
Mm-hmm.
and then go through your tabs as well. That might be a tool to use. Just a suggestion. I was trying to chat it, but I thought I'd mic up. So
Yeah.
thanks, guys.
Yeah, I had JAWS run. I turned off JAWS, but I can definitely do that if that's gonna help.
I don't know if it helps the others. I was just thought, I don't know if you even have time, but just a thought.
I think one of the ways, I don't know, when I'm working throughout my day, I have a bunch of tabs open. Oh, sorry. Like I have my email open. I have my logs open. I might have Word open. I have all these things open, and they're all in those tabs, so I can move back and forth between tabs with Control Tab. So I have,
It's super. Once I teach sighted people how to do that, it's just a Windows command. It's so much easier and for everybody. So, yeah.
Yeah. So again, like I was saying earlier, when
From Murray, Nicole to every.
Yeah, I think if you use these keyboard commands regularly, so the Alt tab and Control tab, those are Windows-based commands, like Chris was saying. If you start to incorporate this and use them regularly, then it's very easy to then explain it to your student. And you don't have to keep memorizing all these things. It's not new to you, right? Because you just use it all the time. To demo what Chris was saying, so I do have, I turned on my JAWS. I'm going to share my screen and share my computer audio. So, so when I press, so I'm in the browser. I'm in a browser right now. Well, actually, let me make sure I'm in the browser.
Zoom with JAWS for TV.
Now I'm in the browser. So I knew that I was on the Zoom meeting control, and if I pressed Control Tab there when I was in Zoom meeting, then I don't know. I don't think it would have done anything. So I had to make sure that I pressed Alt Tab.
Meeting control. Zoom with Zoom.
Make sure I get to the Firefox browser that I wanted to get to. So now that I'm in the browser, what I can do is
task switch. Zoom with JAWS for meeting document Google speaker down JAWS. Zoom with JAWS for Zoom.
So now that I'm in the browser, I can press Control Tab to switch between the tabs.
Zoom keyboard commands dot. Log into Zoom meeting via meeting code. Log into Zoom meeting via email.
Right. And then if I say, okay, this is where I want to be in my browser, now I want to go back to my Zoom meeting control because I need to unmute myself or mute or stop my video or whatever, or type in the chat, then I would press Alt Tab until I get to Zoom meeting controls.
Meeting controls. To move to an item, press the arrow keys. Meeting controls.
So now I'm in meeting controls. Now I can use the Zoom meeting controls. Does that make sense? Hopefully that solidified that idea, that concept.
Thanks, Yurika. I'm on my phone, so I didn't really hear it. So maybe it's because I'm not on PC sound. So sorry about that.
No problem.
I think it is real helpful to hear that, because that's what we're hearing when students are doing it.
Yes. Yeah. And I just want to remind TVIs too, or that I know it's so easy for us to have our vision take over, but what you really have to pay attention to is what is JAWS saying, because that's where the student's computer, the focus is for the student, right? So even visually, if sometimes it doesn't match visually. Visually, you might be seeing something, if the JAWS is reading something else, and you're telling your student, it's right there, go to this, right? But the student's like, I can't find it. You have to be actually listening to JAWS, not having your vision take over. I know that's really difficult because we're generally, rely on our vision a lot, but.
Stop. JAWS. Quit.
Did we answer this question from Susan? How do you close tabs?
Yeah, Control F4.
Pop quiz, how do you close a window?
Or a program.
Is that Alt F4?
Alt
Yes.
F4.
Yes, good job, Dory.
It closes anything.
The modifier keys are the same. Alt is going to be for Windows and programs, right? Alt Tab or Alt F4 is going to close Windows and programs, while Control Tab and Control F4 is going to move through tabs and close singular tabs.
Yes. Jennifer, I just wanted to mention to you, if you still have problems with your student logging onto a Zoom meeting, I'm happy to, hop on and join you in one of your meetings and help out. We can schedule it.
Okay. Are the commands to log on to Zoom the same as Google Meet?
No, not exactly. Let's see, right? So I'm going to share my screen. Let's try, I don't know, with Google Meet. I'm going to start a new tab here. Oh yeah, we didn't go over new tab. So new tab would be Control T. So you see that it started a new tab. So if what is Google Meet? Meet.google.com. Yeah, I haven't navigated this with JAWS specifically, but I'm assuming, yeah, it's probably just navigating by pressing tab and then start or join a meeting and then typing in the meeting code and then enter is what I would assume, but I would have to go through it.
Okay, so you said once you went to meet.google.com, you just tab down to join meeting?
Yeah, actually it automatically put me there, but
okay.
JAWS would read it. It'll say join or start meeting. I don't know if this is a button. It looks like a button, and then you press enter.
Okay.
And then it asks you for the meeting code.
Okay.
Type in the meeting code and then press enter.
Okay, thank you.
And Jennifer,
that's what I should have asked. How many people here are using Google Meet versus Zoom?
My students use both. It just depends on the teacher and what their preference is.
Yeah.
right, that's what I see too.
Does anybody have a preference, any of the TVIs here? Is there a preference for you using Google Meet versus Zoom?
I haven't used Google Meet very often, but I know with Zoom, my kids, if people type in the chat, it talks over the person who's talking. So usually the teachers have to mute the chat or take the chat away so that they can't type. Otherwise you can't hear what's going on during the presentation.
We did have a TVI on one of our Tuesday Ts suggest that when the student is in the meeting and there's a chat, that they turn off the JAWS voice and then turn it on when they need to navigate, in order to minimize the amount of distraction they get from the chat announcements. I'm not sure of how to, the command for that off the top of my head, but I can put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Sharon says that we use Microsoft Teams. Yeah, we don't use Microsoft Teams, but I do have a document created by somebody else if you would like me to put that in the chat, Sharon.
And there's somebody that said that they use the annotation in Zoom. I've never used that, so that'd be something, if that's something to learn. The annotation feature, not today, but part 2, part 9, part 20.
Yeah, this is Cindy Giannichini. It's been really helpful for my students because when we're exploring things online, if they say, oh, I like this here, because most of them have low vision, and I can't see what they're pointing to. So it's been helpful. They can use a stamp feature or draw feature to circle or put a stamp next to what they're talking about. So it's been real helpful. It's a good tool.
That's the annotation tool?
Yes.
Hmm.
So I actually did lessons for a lot of my students on how to use it, and created some slides on, or like if they were stuck, I would take a screenshot and email it to myself and then share that with them to show them where to go. Because the view that you have as a host and the view that the student has is a little different. So,
hey, Cindy, maybe you want to do a presentation on that.
Yeah, I could.
No.
There you go. They've been looking for another victim, I think. You're up.
Oh,
Victim.
Well, I was gonna say, my students are not using JAWS. They're all using VoiceOver right now with Zoom. And I don't know if that's bad or good.
Are they using it on an iPad or on a Mac or both?
Usually on an iPad.
It's pretty easy to navigate Zoom on the iPad using VoiceOver. And in terms of good or bad, it depends on the student. So
but sometimes they're using their iPhones, and I don't think that's good. I think they should use their iPads because the iPhone is not as easy. Well,
yeah, I mean, depending on if they need to see the screen and if, yeah, there's a lot of factors to consider. But in terms of VoiceOver and navigating Zoom, it's really easy for our students to use that platform.
And I think that sometimes it depends on when the students need 2 devices, they choose their iPhone for one of them.
Okay, well, it's 4:36 and I think we usually go till 4:30, but if there's nothing else, I know that Vanessa has to hop off, and hopefully this was helpful to you. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me. I think most of you guys already have my email. Otherwise, I'll put it in the chat here.